Avengers Endgame was directed by the Russo brothers and is the highly anticipated sequel to Avengers Infinity War. And in this film, the story takes place after the events of Infinity War, and after the horrific and terrible battle between the Avengers and Thanos, and the tragic losses the Avengers have went through. The Avengers must set things right in order to bring back the 50% of life in the universe that Thanos snapped away, and to defeat Thanos for good. I've been waiting for this movie for a year, ever since I saw Avengers Infinity War, which is by no means a perfect movie, but it is a fantastic thrill ride. Avengers Infinity War is an amazing film. I remember when I first saw that with my friends at the cinemas, and we had like the time of our lives. Avengers Infinity War is a really great film, and it's well paced, and it's filled with amazing action sequences and an amazing story that you can easily connect with. So I was very excited and curious to see what they were going to do with this film, considering that this film is literally a 3-hour running time. This movie is 3 hours long, so I was really curious to see what Endgame would be able to pull off. And I am happy to say that I was speechless when I walked out of the theater. Words could not describe on how good this movie was. This movie really does have elements that Infinity War had, but there are also times that it's giving you a reminder that, hey, this is a different movie, not the same movie. And therefore, it's a different experience, which could lead to a better experience. And I have to say, Endgame is a much better experience than Infinity War, in my opinion. I freaking loved this movie. Endgame really does get a lot of elements right. What this film really does best, that I'd say that I really loved, is the first half of this movie. For me, the writing in the first half of the movie was near pitch perfect. What Endgame did really well in the first half of this film was made us feel for our main characters. The first half of this movie is filled with a lot of emotional elements and even slow elements. And when I say slow elements, I don't even necessarily mean that as a bad thing. There are times in the first half of this movie, in the first act of this movie, where the elements are on purposely slow, and I get that. And in the first half of the movie, we're following with the Avengers. We know their problems. We know why they're depressed. We know why they're sad. And the first half of this movie is filled with tons of conversations and how they're going to set things right again. But honestly, I really did enjoy myself in the first act. But technically, while watching this movie, you can tell that a lot of writing did go into this film. Like I said, the first half of this movie is filled with moments where the Avengers are just struggling for survival, because this is the fight of all of their lives, and it can change everything. But absolutely one thing that I really, really loved about the first half of the movie, which was, aside from the writing, was that the Avengers felt like actual people dealing with real life situations. Because when I was watching this movie, I actually felt like I probably just suffered from a loss. And this movie, in my opinion, far more emotional than Infinity War, by far. There are a lot of elements in this movie that really did get me. And I'm going to be completely honest. I cried at least 5 times in this movie. At least 5 times. This movie really did hit me hard. And things that I really didn't expect to occur. And I was absolutely amazed and touched by everything in this film, honestly. There were even moments in this film where sometimes this film felt like sort of like a cartoon, and that's sort of somewhat expected, I guess, since it's of the Avengers. I guess they make some certain jokes in this movie, and honestly, the jokes really did work for me, and especially my audience and the audience in the theater. The audience honestly made this movie a much better experience. There were a lot of laughs, there were a lot of cheering, there was even a lot of clapping. The audience really did make this movie a better experience, in my opinion. And like I mentioned, this movie has amazing visuals, but its story is also really well set up. From the first half of the movie, which I already explained what it is, And once it gets to the action sequence, which, by the way, it really does take a while for the action sequences to kick in. But I'm not really saying that this movie needed more action sequences. I'm pretty sure this movie had plenty of action sequences, honestly. But it really does take a while for them to kick in. But, which isn't even an issue. I think it's actually genius in my opinion. Because once the writers have everything down and the characters are all well fleshed out, and once all of the emotional elements are over, and once the Avengers know what they have to do, you can tell that the writers are just considerably freed by that. And then later on in the movie, we get some really BA action sequences. They are phenomenal. They are absolutely amazing. And that's technically what we came for, to see the Avengers kick. And the final act of this movie was very exciting too. The final act of this movie is filled with so many action-packed fun. The final act of this movie really felt satisfying to watch. I was absolutely satisfied and excited to see how everything would unfold in the ending. And I was quite nervous too. And I'd have to say how the way the final act is in this film, it's very exciting to watch. And it's even very, very emotional. Me and my friend absolutely burst into tears during the last 20 minutes of this movie. It really affected me. And I actually started crying halfway from this movie all the way to the ending. That's saying something. This movie really did hit me. And I'm absolutely not proud to say that I cried, because I really did. I felt something. And it didn't feel good. It really didn't feel good. And no, I am not making a pun from Infinity War. I seriously, really, it didn't feel right, honestly. I'm not spoiling anything, by the way. If you want to know what happens, you're going to have to see Endgame for yourself. But as a whole, this movie really does fit perfectly in the MCU, I'd say. I only really do have one flaw with this movie, actually. And yes, you're going to expect me having flaws with a lot of movies, because no movie's perfect, honestly, except like maybe some classic ones or stuff like that. I mean, I reviewed like every now and then a lot of perfect movies that I consider masterpieces, but there are also a lot of movies that are not perfect too. So I guess my only really big issue with this movie is when the final act does happen, and once it continues to happen, so much is going on. And even in the second half of the movie, so much is going on that it almost feels like there are some elements in this film that don't even need to be in this film, and it even feels like a couple of elements in the final act or even the second half are rushed a little bit. And that was just a little small disappointment that I had with this film, honestly. Other than that, Endgame is so far it's my favorite movie of 2019, and honestly my second favorite Avengers movie after the original. This movie was an amazing experience and probably one of my favorite cinematic experiences. It is a mind-blowing film from visuals and story and action sequences. And especially if you're a Marvel fan, I guarantee that you will love this movie. Because me and my friend entered this theater last night with a crap ton of Marvel fans. Our theater was packed, and we were so satisfied to see this many people here in the theater with us. But anyway, please do not miss this movie while it's still in theaters. I highly suggest you go check this out. If you haven't seen Infinity War, check that out first before you see this movie, because then everything will come together perfectly for you. I'm going to give Avengers Endgame an A. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Look forward to more reviews that will be coming very soon. I want to try to still review a couple more MCU movies and stuff like that, and then we'll get to more movie reviews maybe. And next month, I have a little surprise. I don't want to say what it is, but next month's my birthday, and I have a little surprise. I'm not going to say what it is, but you guys will find out. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this review. You guys are the best. Love every single one of you. Look forward to more reviews that will be coming very soon. And definitely check out Endgame while it's out in theaters. Me and my friend had the pleasure of seeing this movie last night, at opening night, and it was a fantastic experience. Never forget this movie. and this experience. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are the best. Love every single one of you. Look forward to more reviews that'll be coming very soon. And as always, I am Mario Fan 520, and I will see you next time. Peace out.